The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor of my mother's funeral reception, and my sister's voice cut through the polite murmur of mourners like a knife through silk. "You always had everything," Rachel screamed, her face twisted with decades of rage. "The perfect marriage, the perfect children, the perfect life. And now you get the house too?" I stood there in my black dress, mascara-stained tears still fresh on my cheeks, and for the first time in 47 years, I unbuttoned my sleeve. The room went silent. The scars ran from my wrist to my elbow, a roadmap of pain written in raised white lines against my skin. Some were thin as thread. Others were thick, angry keloids that caught the afternoon light streaming through the funeral home windows. "You want to know what I had, Rachel?" My voice was barely a whisper, but everyone heard it. "Let me show you. I was born Margaret Ann Sullivan on a cold November morning in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the first daughter of Thomas and Patricia Sullivan. My sister Rachel came 2 years later, crying and red-faced, demanding attention from the moment she drew breath. My mother always said Rachel was the pretty one, the charming one, the one who would break hearts. I was the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who would take care of things. I didn't know then that taking care of things would become my life sentence. Our house on Maple Street was a modest 2-story with peeling paint and a porch that sagged in the middle. Dad worked at the factory, and Mom cleaned houses for the wealthy families on the east side of town. Rachel and I shared a bedroom with wallpaper that was already yellowing when we moved in, but to me, it was a palace. I had never known anything else. Rachel was 6 when she first called me selfish. I was 8, and I had received a scholarship to the private school across town, the one with the brick buildings and manicured lawns. My mother's employer, Mrs. Hendricks, had recommended me. Rachel cried for 3 days straight, convinced that I was abandoning her, that I thought I was better than her. I wasn't. I just wanted to learn. But that scholarship was my first crime in Rachel's eyes, the first evidence that the universe favored me over her. Never mind that I studied until midnight every night while she played with her dolls. Never mind that I tutored her through every failed math test, every forgotten homework assignment. In Rachel's narrative, I was born lucky, and she was born to suffer in my shadow. The scars on my arm started the summer I turned 13. Dad lost his job at the factory. I heard him crying in the garage one night, a sound so foreign and terrible that it made my stomach turn. Mom picked up extra cleaning shifts, leaving before dawn and returning after dark, her hands raw and bleeding from the industrial chemicals. Rachel, at 11, seemed oblivious to it all, still demanding new clothes and trips to the mall. I started working at Henderson's grocery store, lying about my age, bagging groceries for minimum wage. The money went straight to Mom for the mortgage. I never told Rachel. I told her I was at the library studying, but Marcus Henderson, the owner's nephew, worked the stockroom. He was 17, with dark eyes and a smile that made me feel special. He noticed me in a way no one else ever had, told me I was beautiful, that I was different from other girls. When he asked me to help him inventory the storage room after closing, I thought it was harmless. It wasn't. The first time he pressed me against the metal shelving, his hand over my mouth, I was too shocked to scream. The second time, I was too ashamed. By the 5th time, I had learned that fighting only made it worse, that silence was survival. I cut myself for the first time that August, using my father's razor blade in the bathroom while Rachel sang along to the radio in our bedroom. The pain was clean, sharp, real, in a way that everything else felt distant and dreamlike. It was pain I could control, pain that belonged to me. The scars on my left forearm were from that summer. 17 thin white lines, one for each time Marcus Henderson stole something from me that I could never get back. I never told anyone. Not when I discovered I was pregnant at 14. Not when I miscarried alone in the school bathroom, blood soaking through my uniform skirt. Not when the school nurse found me passed out on the tile floor, and my mother, exhausted and overwhelmed, chose to believe it was just a heavy period. It was easier for everyone if Margaret was fine, if Margaret was responsible, if Margaret held it together. So I did. Rachel never knew any of this. She saw me get accepted to Northwestern University on a full scholarship and cried about how unfair life was. She didn't know I had worked 3 jobs my senior year, that I had applied to 47 different scholarships, that I wrote those essays with hands that still trembled when I heard footsteps behind me in empty hallways. At the funeral reception, my sister stared at my scars with an expression I couldn't quite read. Horror? Confusion? The beginning of understanding? You don't know anything about my life, I said quietly, my arm still exposed, the evidence of my pain on display for every family friend and distant relative to see. You never did. My name is Margaret Ann Sullivan Pierce, though for the last 25 years, I've been known as Dr. Margaret Pierce, Chief of Pediatrics at Chicago Memorial Hospital. I live in a 3-story brownstone in Lincoln Park, with my husband Daniel, our 2 children, and a golden retriever named Chester. From the outside, it looks exactly like what Rachel always accused me of having. Everything. The perfect life. Let me tell you what that perfect life actually looks like. I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, not because I want to, but because the nightmares usually start around 4:30, and it's easier to just get up than to lie there fighting them. I make coffee in the kitchen that still smells faintly of the vanilla candles I burn obsessively, trying to cover the scent of antiseptic that seems to have seeped into my skin after 20 years of hospital work. Daniel sleeps through my early mornings. He's a good man, a patent attorney who works 80-hour weeks, and doesn't ask why I flinch when he touches me without warning. We have sex twice a month scheduled, because spontaneity makes my chest tight and my hands shake. He thinks I'm just stressed from work. After 25 years of marriage, he has learned not to push for more explanations than I'm willing to give. Our children are perfect in the way that children can be when you've spent their entire lives trying to protect them from the world. Emily is 22, finishing her master's degree in social work at Columbia. Jake is 19, pre-med at Johns Hopkins, following in his mother's footsteps, whether he truly wants to or not. I suspect he's doing it for me, to make me proud, and the guilt of that sits heavy in my chest. They don't know their mother cuts herself. They don't know that the long sleeves I wear even in summer hide fresh scars alongside the old ones. They don't know that their mother is broken in ways that no amount of success can fix. The brownstone is beautiful, I'll give Rachel that. We bought it 10 years ago, and I've decorated it with the kind of careful attention that comes from growing up with nothing. The furniture is expensive but not ostentatious. The art on the walls carefully chosen. The garden in the back maintained by a service because I can't make anything grow no matter how hard I try. My mother used to say I had a black thumb, that even plastic plants would die under my care. She meant it as a joke, but Rachel took it as proof that I wasn't perfect, that there was at least one thing she could do better than me. Rachel's house, a small ranch in Naperville, has a garden that's featured in the local paper every spring. She never misses a chance to mention it. The day before Mom's funeral, I spent 3 hours at the hospital performing a delicate surgery on a 6-year-old with a brain tumor. Her name was Sophie, and she had blonde curls and blue eyes that reminded me of Emily at that age. The surgery was successful, and I should have felt triumphant, but instead, I went to my office afterward and carved a new line into my inner thigh with the small surgical blade I keep hidden in my desk drawer. No one knows about my office drawer. Not Daniel, not my colleagues, not the therapist I stopped seeing 5 years ago when she got too close to the truth. The scars on my thighs number 43. One for each time I saved a life and felt nothing. One for each time I felt like a fraud, like a person pretending to be human. One for each time I looked in the mirror and saw the girl Marcus Henderson destroyed, still somehow breathing, still somehow functioning, but not alive in any way that matters. Rachel doesn't know that I pay her mortgage. She thinks she's independent, that she's making it on her own with her job as a receptionist at a dental office. She doesn't know that I quietly bought her mortgage from the bank when she was 3 months behind on payments, that I anonymously pay the difference between what she can afford and what she actually owes. She doesn't know that I've been protecting her our entire lives, even as she resented me for breathing. My mother knew. Mom knew everything, though we never spoke of it directly. She knew about the scars, though she pretended not to see them. She knew about the money I sent every month, disguised as returns on her investments that never actually existed. She knew that Rachel hated me, and she knew why it was unfair, but she also knew that Rachel was fragile in a way that I never was. "You're strong, Margaret," Mom told me a week before the cancer finally took her. We were alone in her hospital room, Rachel having just left after a dramatic crying session about how hard this all was for her. "You've always been so strong." I held my mother's papery hand and said nothing. Strength and survival are not the same thing, but I've never known how to explain the difference. The house Rachel mentioned at the funeral, the one she screamed about, is Mom's house in Cedar Rapids. The house with the sagging porch where Rachel and I grew up, where I learned that being good didn't protect you. where I learned that silence was safer than truth. Mom left it to me in her will, along with her savings account that contained exactly $23,450.76, money I had secretly deposited over the years without her knowing. Rachel wanted that house. She wanted it because she thinks it represents something it doesn't, because she has romanticized our childhood in a way that I find both heartbreaking and infuriating. She wants to remember laughter and sisterhood. I remember that house as the place where I learned to disappear, but I'm getting ahead of myself. You need to understand how we got here, to this moment with broken glass on the floor and my scars on display, to understand why Rachel's words cut so deep, and why my response had to be so final. The first knife in my back came wrapped in concern. 3 days after I showed Rachel my scars at the funeral, she called a family meeting at her house. I should have known something was wrong when she insisted Daniel and the kids come too, when she invited our Aunt Carol and Uncle Jim, when she set out coffee and cookies like this was some kind of celebration. I walked into her living room and immediately felt the shift in atmosphere. Everyone was already seated, arranged like a jury, and Rachel stood at the front with an expression that I can only describe as performative sympathy. "Thank you all for coming," she began, and my stomach dropped. "Margaret," she continued, her voice dripping with false concern, "we're here because we love you, because we're worried about you. After what you showed us at Mom's funeral, we realized you need help." I looked at Daniel. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "You knew about this?" I asked him. "Rachel called me," he said quietly. "She explained about your arms, about how you've been hurting yourself." "Margaret, why didn't you tell me?" "Because you would have looked at me exactly the way you're looking at me right now," I thought. "Like I'm broken. Like I'm something to be fixed." Rachel pulled out a folder, and I recognized the logo on it. Lakeside Behavioral Health Center, an inpatient psychiatric facility about an hour outside Chicago. "We've already made arrangements," Rachel said, her voice somehow managing to sound both loving and condescending. "They have a bed available for you starting Monday. It's a 6-week program. Very exclusive, very private. No one needs to know. You can take a leave of absence from the hospital, and when you come back, you'll be better." "Better," I repeated, my voice flat. "Healthy," Aunt Carol chimed in, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. "Oh, Margaret, we had no idea you were suffering like this. We just want you to be happy." I looked around the room, at my children, who looked confused and frightened, at my husband, who looked relieved that someone else was taking charge, at my relatives who looked eager to be part of this intervention drama, and at Rachel, who looked triumphant. There it was. Behind the mask of concern, I could see it. The satisfaction, the vindication. Finally, proof that Margaret wasn't perfect. Finally, evidence that I was broken, that I was the one who needed help, that I was the problem. "You went through my medical records," I said, looking at Rachel. "I'm on your HIPAA authorization form," she said defensively. "As your sister, I have a right to know." "You have no right," I interrupted, my voice sharp. "Those records are private. The scars are private. My life is private. And you've taken something that was mine to share and turned it into a spectacle." "This isn't about you," Rachel said, her voice rising. "This is about your children. Do you know how traumatic it is for them to find out their mother is mentally ill? Do you know what this could do to Emily and Jake?" Emily stood up. "Mom isn't mentally ill, Aunt Rachel. She's—" "Sit down, Emily," Rachel snapped. "The adults are talking." My daughter's face flushed with anger, but she sat, her hand finding her brother's. At least I had raised them to be loyal. Daniel cleared his throat. "Margaret, maybe Rachel has a point. Maybe some time away, some professional help. You want to commit me," I said, the realization hitting me like cold water. "Not commit," Rachel said quickly. "It's voluntary. But if you refuse to go voluntarily, we've consulted with an attorney, and given the evidence of self-harm, we can pursue an involuntary hold. For your own protection." There it was, the threat wrapped in concern, the knife buried deep. I stood up slowly, every muscle in my body vibrating with rage. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," I said, my voice eerily calm. "You, Rachel, who has never asked me about my scars, who has never once in 47 years asked me if I was okay, who has spent our entire lives resenting me for imaginary privileges, have taken it upon yourself to diagnose me as mentally ill and arrange for me to be institutionalized." Margaret, Daniel started. And you, Daniel, my husband of 25 years. You've decided to support this plan without ever having a private conversation with me about it, without asking me what the scars mean, or where they came from, or what I've survived. We're trying to help you, Aunt Carol said. No, I said, my voice cutting through the room. You're trying to make yourselves feel better. You're trying to turn my pain into a story where you're the heroes, and I'm the victim who needs saving. But here's what you don't understand. I've been saving myself my entire life. I don't need your intervention. I need you to mind your own damn business. Rachel's face flushed red. Fine, don't accept our help. But don't come crying to us when what, Rachel? When I finally tell the truth about our childhood? When I finally explain where these scars came from? Do you really want to have this conversation in front of everyone? The room went silent. Rachel's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of fear crossing her face. She didn't know what I meant, but she knew enough to be afraid. That's what I thought, I said softly. I turned to Daniel. I'll be staying at the Brownstone. I think you should take a few days and decide if you trust me enough to be your wife. If you don't, I'll understand. I walked out of Rachel's house without looking back, my hands steady even though my heart was breaking. Behind me, I could hear Rachel crying, telling everyone that I was being irrational, that I was proving her point. Let her cry. Let them all think what they wanted. For the first time in my life, I was done protecting people from the truth. That night, alone in my brownstone with Chester at my feet, I allowed myself to remember. Really remember. Not the sanitized version I had constructed to survive, but the raw truth of what my perfect life had actually cost. I was 7 years old when I first understood that love could be conditional. My father sat at the kitchen table in Cedar Rapids, his face gray with exhaustion, bills spread out in front of him like accusations. Rachel and I were supposed to be asleep, but I had crept down the stairs, drawn by the sound of my mother's crying. We can't afford both of them, Dad said, his voice breaking. The private school, it's too expensive. Margaret will have to go to public school like everyone else. But Thomas, Mom whispered, it's such an opportunity. Mrs. Hendricks said Margaret is gifted that she could. Gifted doesn't pay the mortgage, Patricia. I remember standing on the stairs in my nightgown, my hand gripping the railing, understanding for the first time that my existence was an expense, that my dreams had a price tag, that wanting more than what we had was selfish. I went back to my room and found the piggy bank I had been filling with coins from doing chores, $47.35. I took it downstairs and placed it on the table in front of my father. For the school, I said simply. My mother burst into tears. My father pulled me onto his lap and held me so tight I could barely breathe. They let me keep the scholarship, but the message was clear. Margaret's needs came last. Margaret had to earn her place. Margaret had to be worth the investment. Rachel slept through all of it. She always did. When I was 9, I started babysitting for the neighbors to earn extra money. When I was 11, I cleaned the church on Saturdays for $5 an hour. When I was 13, I lied about my age to work at Henderson's grocery store, determined to help my family, to prove I was worth keeping, and that's where I met Marcus. I've never told anyone the full story of what happened in that storage room. Not the therapist who suspected, not Daniel who never asked, not even myself most days. But sitting alone in my expensive house with my successful life crumbling around me, I let myself remember. Marcus Henderson was 17, the nephew of the store owner, home for the summer from college. He had dark hair and green eyes, and a smile that made me feel seen. I was 13, and desperately hungry for attention, for someone to notice that I was more than just the responsible daughter, the good student, the girl who never caused trouble. You're pretty when you smile, he told me during my first week. You should do it more often. I smiled. God help me, I smiled. The grooming was textbook, though I didn't know that word then. He would bring me sodas during my breaks, tell me I was mature for my age, that I was different from other girls. He would brush against me in the narrow aisles, his hand lingering on my shoulder, my back, my waist, and I thought it was romantic. The first time he cornered me in the storage room, I thought he was going to kiss me. I had never been kissed, and I wanted it to be special, to be something I chose. It wasn't. He put his hand over my mouth and pushed me against the shelving, his body pinning me in place. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't scream. Couldn't do anything but stand there while he touched me in ways that made my skin crawl and my stomach turn. "Don't tell anyone," he whispered in my ear when he was finished. "They won't believe you. You came back here with me. You smiled at me. Everyone saw you flirting. They'll say you wanted it." I was 13 years old, and I believed him. It happened 17 times over that summer. 17 times I told my mother I was working late. 17 times I washed my hands until they bled in the employee bathroom. 17 times I died a little bit more inside. And 17 times I cut myself afterward. Each line a mark of what had been taken from me. Each scar a silent scream I couldn't release. When I discovered I was pregnant in October, I didn't even know that's what the nausea and missed periods meant. I thought I was sick, that my body was punishing me for being weak. The school nurse figured it out first, pulled me aside after I fainted during gym class. "Honey," she said gently, "do your parents know?" I shook my head, unable to speak. "Who's the father?" I couldn't answer. The words stuck in my throat like broken glass. The miscarriage happened a month later, sudden and brutal. I was alone in the school bathroom during lunch. The pain so intense I thought I was dying. Maybe I wanted to be dying. The blood soaked through my skirt, my underwear, pooling on the tile floor beneath me. The nurse found me passed out. The ambulance came. My mother arrived at the hospital, white-faced and silent. The doctors explained what had happened in clinical terms that made it sound like my body had simply rejected an unwanted pregnancy. No one asked who the father was. No one asked if it had been consensual. My mother looked at me with something I couldn't name. Not anger, not exactly. Disappointment, maybe. Or fear. Or the realization that her daughter wasn't who she thought she was. "We'll tell everyone it was heavy period complications," she said finally. "No one needs to know the rest." And just like that, it was erased. My assault, my pregnancy, my trauma, all of it swept under the rug of family secrets and Midwestern propriety. I went back to school 2 days later. Marcus Henderson had already gone back to college. I never saw him again, but I felt him in every nightmare, every panic attack, every time someone touched me without warning. Rachel was 11 then. She came into our room and asked if I was okay. "I'm fine," I told her, and she believed me. 2 weeks after the intervention disaster at Rachel's house, I received a letter from the Illinois Medical Board. Someone had filed a formal complaint against me, alleging that I was mentally unstable and potentially dangerous to patients. The complaint cited my history of self-harm and requested an immediate suspension of my medical license pending a psychiatric evaluation. The signature at the bottom of the complaint was Rachel's. I sat in my office at Chicago Memorial, the letter trembling in my hands, and felt something inside me finally break. Not the breaking that leads to tears or screams or dramatic collapse. The kind of breaking that's quiet and complete, like ice cracking beneath the surface of a frozen lake. My secretary, Joan, knocked softly on the door. "Dr. Pierce, your 4 o'clock is here. The Mitchell family." 6-year-old Sophie, the brain tumor patient, coming in for her 3-month post-surgery follow-up. I had held that child's life in my hands, had spent 7 hours in the operating theater removing a tumor the size of a golf ball from her brain. She was alive because of me, thriving because of my skill, my training, my dedication. And my sister wanted to take that away, because she couldn't stand that I had survived our childhood better than she had. I went to the appointment. I smiled at Sophie, admired her new haircut covering the surgical scar, congratulated her parents on her perfect MRI results. I was professional, competent, exactly what they needed me to be. And then I went home and stood in my bathroom for 2 hours, with a surgical blade pressed against my wrist, trying to decide if I was strong enough to keep living, or if Rachel had finally won. Daniel found me there. He had come home early, worried after receiving his own letter from Rachel, one that detailed my mental health crisis, and suggested that he might want to consider separation for the safety of our children. He took the blade from my hand gently, wrapped his arms around me, and let me collapse against his chest. "Tell me," he said simply. "Tell me everything." So I did. I told him about Marcus Henderson and the storage room and the 17 scars on my left arm. I told him about the pregnancy and the miscarriage and my mother's silence. I told him about the nightmares and the panic attacks and the way I sometimes feel like I'm watching my life from outside my body, unable to connect to any of it. I told him about the cuts on my thighs, The ones I make when I feel too much or nothing at all, when the pressure of being perfect becomes unbearable. I told him about the surgical blade I keep in my office desk, my secret shame, my private ritual of pain. I told him about Rachel, about the lifetime of resentment and jealousy, about how she has spent 47 years believing that my success came at her expense, that my scholarships and achievements and career were things stolen from her rather than earned by me. I told him everything, and when I was finished, I was empty, hollowed out, ready for him to leave. Instead, he held me tighter. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice breaking. "Because I was ashamed. Because I thought if you knew how broken I was, you'd realize you'd married the wrong person." "Margaret," he said, pulling back to look at me, his eyes red with tears. "You're not broken. You're the strongest person I've ever known. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't see it. I'm sorry I believed Rachel. I'm sorry I didn't ask." We stayed on the bathroom floor until our legs went numb, Daniel holding me while I cried for the first time since I was 14 years old. Real crying, the kind that comes from the deepest part of your soul, the kind that releases something toxic you didn't know you were holding. But the letter from the medical board was still real. Rachel's complaint was official, documented, part of the public record. Even if I fought it and won, my colleagues would know. The hospital administration would know. Every patient's family would Google my name and find articles about the investigation. Rachel had attacked me in the one place I thought was safe, my career, the thing I had built from nothing, the identity I had constructed to prove I was more than what had happened to me. She had weaponized my trauma, turned my survival into evidence of my instability. The next morning, I received an email from my department head requesting a meeting. The subject line was simply, "Urgent." I knew what was coming. Paid leave, psychiatric evaluation, possibly forced resignation. The medical board complaint would trigger a hospital investigation, policies and procedures that were designed to protect patients, but would ultimately destroy me. I went to the meeting with my head high and my scars hidden beneath a long-sleeved blouse. Dr. Stevens, my department head, was kind but firm. "Margaret, you understand this is just precautionary. No one doubts your abilities as a physician. But given the nature of the complaint, we have to follow protocol." "I understand," I said, my voice steady. "Paid administrative leave, pending evaluation, 6 weeks. We'll keep it quiet. Call it a sabbatical. When you come back..." "If I come back," I interrupted. Dr. Stevens looked uncomfortable. "Yes, if you come back." I cleaned out my office that afternoon. 20 years of medical practice packed into 3 cardboard boxes. Photos of patients I'd saved, awards I'd won, certificates proving my competence. None of it mattered now. Joan cried when I said goodbye. "This isn't right," she said. "Everyone knows you're the best doctor in this hospital. What your sister did, it's cruel." "Yes," I agreed. "It is." I drove home through Chicago traffic, my hand steady on the wheel, my mind strangely calm. Rachel wanted to destroy me. She wanted to prove that I had always been broken, that my success was an illusion, that she had been right all along to hate me. But she had made one critical mistake. She had finally given me a reason to stop protecting her. The human mind is an interesting thing. It can endure trauma, suppress memory, function on autopilot for decades, all while the conscious self believes everything is fine. And then one day, something shifts. A sister files a complaint to destroy your career, and suddenly, you remember things you've spent a lifetime forgetting. I remembered that I wasn't the only person Marcus Henderson hurt. The realization hit me 3 days into my forced leave, while I was sitting in my home office going through old boxes from my mother's house. Rachel had been furious that I wouldn't hand over the keys to our childhood home, so I had quietly been sorting through decades of accumulated family history, trying to decide what to keep and what to let go. In a box labeled Margaret High School, I found my old diary from sophomore year. I hadn't looked at it in 30 years, hadn't even remembered keeping it. The entries were sporadic, typical teenage angst mixed with academic stress, but one entry stopped me cold. October 15th. Sarah Mitchell wasn't at school again today. That's 3 weeks now. The counselor said she transferred to a different school, but Emma told me she heard Sarah had a breakdown and is in some kind of hospital. I feel bad for her. I remember she used to work at Henderson's grocery too. Sarah Mitchell. I opened my laptop and typed her name into social media. She was my age, which meant she had been working at Henderson's around the same time I did. It took me 20 minutes to find her profile, set to private, but her profile picture was visible. She was beautiful, with sad eyes and a guarded smile. Her bio said she lived in Portland now, worked as a trauma counselor, specialized in helping survivors of sexual assault. My hands shook as I sent her a message. "Sarah, this is Margaret Sullivan. We went to Cedar Rapids High together. I know this is random after 30 years, but I need to ask you something about the summer of 1991, about Henderson's grocery store. Please respond if you're comfortable talking about it." I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. She responded 6 hours later. "I've been waiting for this message for 30 years. Yes, let's talk." We arranged a video call for the next day. When her face appeared on my screen, I saw my own trauma reflected back at me. The same haunted eyes, the same practiced smile that didn't quite reach the truth. "You too?" she asked simply. "Me too," I confirmed. Sarah cried. I cried. Two women in their 40s, separated by decades and geography, connected by the same predator, the same silence, the same shame. "I tried to tell someone," Sarah said, her voice raw. "I told my parents, and they went to the police. Do you know what happened? Nothing. The Henderson family was too powerful, too well connected. My parents were told it would be difficult to prove, that it would be traumatic for me to testify, that maybe I had misunderstood Marcus's intentions." "Jesus," I whispered. "Yeah, so we moved. My parents thought getting me away from Cedar Rapids would help me heal, but it didn't. I had a breakdown, spent 3 months in a psychiatric hospital. PTSD, they called it eventually. Self-harm, suicidal ideation, the works. I didn't finish high school until I was 20. "I'm so sorry," I said. "Don't be sorry, be angry. Because here's what I learned. Marcus Henderson didn't stop with us. I've spent the last 15 years working with assault survivors. And you know what I do in my spare time? I track him. I document his victims. I've found 11 so far, Margaret. 11 women who were teenagers when he assaulted them. Most of them worked at his uncle's store. All of them were told no one would believe them. 11. Plus Sarah. Plus me. 13 that she knew about. How many more were there? How many other girls had Marcus Henderson destroyed while going on to live a perfectly successful life? Where is he now?" I asked. Sarah smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. "That's the interesting part. He's in Chicago. He's a real estate developer. Very successful. Married to a surgeon. 3 daughters. 3 daughters. "He has daughters?" My voice came out strangled. "Yep. Ages 15, 12, and 9. I think about them all the time. Wonder if he's..." She stopped, unable to finish the sentence. We sat in silence for a moment, both contemplating the horror of that possibility. "I've been building a case," Sarah said finally. Quietly, carefully, getting statements from other survivors, documenting everything. The statute of limitations has passed for criminal charges, but there's civil action. And more importantly, there's exposure. I want to destroy him the way he destroyed us. "What do you need?" I asked. "Your statement, your medical records if you still have them, and if you're willing, your voice. You're a doctor, Margaret, a respected physician. If you go public, people will listen. They'll have to listen." Going public meant exposing everything. It meant my children finding out their mother was a rape victim, my colleagues learning why I really had those scars, my husband confronting the full scope of what I had survived. It meant humiliation, judgment, questions I didn't want to answer. But it also meant Marcus Henderson would finally face consequences. It meant his daughters might be protected. It meant 13 women, maybe more, could finally have their truth acknowledged. And it meant Rachel's complaint to the medical board would suddenly look very different. Not evidence of instability, but evidence of survival. Not a liability, but a qualification for the very work I did, helping wounded children heal. "I'm in," I said. "Tell me what to do." Sarah nodded, something fierce and determined in her eyes. "First, you write down everything. Every detail, every date, every moment you can remember. Then we talk to a lawyer I know who specializes in sexual abuse cases. Then we go to the press." "The press," I repeated, my stomach churning. "The press," she confirmed, "because silence protects predators. And I'm done protecting him. Are you?" I thought about Rachel's complaint, about her lifetime of resentment, about how she had weaponized my trauma without ever understanding its source. I thought about the scars on my arm, the ones she saw but never truly looked at. "I'm done," I said. While Sarah and I prepared our statements and gathered evidence, I discovered something else in my mother's boxes. Something that changed everything I thought I knew about my childhood. It was a safety deposit box key, taped to the inside cover of an old photo album with a note in my mother's handwriting. "For Margaret, open alone." The bank was in Cedar Rapids, the same small-town institution where my parents had kept their modest savings. I made the drive on a gray morning in late October, the key heavy in my pocket, my mind spinning with possibilities. The bank manager, a woman named Susan who had known my mother, expressed her condolences and led me to the vault. "She came in about 6 months ago," Susan said softly. "Said she wanted to make sure everything was in order, that you would know what to do with the contents." The box was larger than I expected, metal and heavy, requiring 2 keys to open, mine and the bank's. Inside was a manila envelope, thick with papers, and a letter addressed to me in my mother's shaky handwriting. I sat in the small privacy room and opened the letter first. "My dearest Margaret, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and it's time for you to know the truth. Not the sanitized version I told myself for years, but the real truth. I knew what Marcus Henderson did to you. I knew and I did nothing, and that failure will haunt me into whatever comes next. You think I believed the lie about heavy periods, but Margaret, I was a mother. I knew my daughter. I saw the way you flinched around men, the way you scrubbed your skin until it bled, the way you carved your pain into your flesh. I knew, and I was too afraid to face it. The Henderson family had power in Cedar Rapids, old money, connections, the ability to destroy anyone who stood against them. When Sarah Mitchell's parents tried to press charges, I watched them lose everything. Their jobs, their reputation, their standing in the community. They left town in shame, and the message was clear. Challenging the Hendersons was suicide, so I stayed silent. I told myself I was protecting you, but I was protecting myself. I was a coward, Margaret, and you paid the price for my cowardice. But I want you to know that I tried to make it right. In my own way, too late, but I tried. In this box, you'll find documents I've been collecting for 30 years. Medical records from Sarah Mitchell's psychiatric hospitalization. Statements from 2 other women who worked at Henderson's and experienced similar assaults. Copies of police reports that were mysteriously lost or misfiled. Evidence that the Henderson family paid off multiple families to keep quiet. I also have recordings. For the last 5 years, I've been working as a cleaning lady for the Henderson family. You didn't know that, did you? You thought I had stopped working after Dad died, but I didn't. I specifically got a job with them, and I recorded everything. Conversations, admissions, proof of cover-ups. Marcus Henderson came to visit his uncle last Christmas. I was cleaning the study when they didn't know I was there. Marcus was drunk, bragging about his conquests, laughing about the stupid girls who thought they were special. His uncle laughed with him. They joked about how easy it was to silence young girls with threats and shame. I recorded it all. There are also financial records. The Henderson family has been paying off families for decades. I traced the money. It's all here. Bank transfers, NDAs, settlement agreements, a paper trail that proves systematic abuse and systematic cover-up. I gathered this evidence because I couldn't face you with the truth while I was alive. I couldn't admit that I failed you, that I chose safety over justice, that I let your rapist walk free while you suffered in silence. But I can give you this, the weapon to destroy him. You're strong, Margaret, stronger than I ever was. You survived. You thrived. You became a woman I'm incredibly proud of. And now you have the power to ensure he never hurts anyone else. About Rachel. I've left the house to you, not because I love you more, but because Rachel can't handle what I'm about to tell you. She doesn't have your strength. Rachel is pregnant. She doesn't know it yet. She'll find out about 3 weeks after my death, I calculate. The father is someone she's been seeing casually, someone who will leave when he finds out about the baby. She'll struggle financially, emotionally. She'll need help. The house is worth about $400,000. I want you to sell it and put that money in trust for Rachel and her child. Not tell her it's from you. She's too proud, too resentful. Set it up anonymously, through a lawyer. Make sure she and the baby are cared for. I know this is a burden. I know Rachel has been cruel to you. especially lately. But she's your sister, and she's lost in ways you never were. Be the bigger person one more time. Not for her, but for that baby who didn't ask to be born into our family's cycle of pain. Use the evidence to destroy Marcus Henderson. Use the money to protect Rachel. And then, please, let yourself be free. Stop carrying everyone's pain. Stop sacrificing yourself. Stop cutting yourself to feel alive. You deserved better than what I gave you. You deserve better than what this world has given you. Take this evidence and this freedom. And finally live. I love you. I always have. I'm sorry it took death to make me brave enough to show it. Mom, I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the paper. My mother knew. She had always known, and she had spent her final years gathering the weapons I needed to fight back. I opened the manila envelope. Inside was exactly what she promised. Medical records, police reports, recorded conversations, financial documents, 30 years of evidence, meticulously organized, dated, notarized. It was enough to destroy Marcus Henderson. It was enough to destroy the entire Henderson family empire. I spent the next 2 weeks in careful, methodical preparation. Sarah connected me with her lawyer, a woman named Rebecca Chen, who specialized in sexual abuse cases and had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless with predators. Together, we reviewed my mother's evidence, added Sarah's documentation, and began reaching out to the other survivors. Of the 11 women Sarah had identified, 8 agreed to participate in the lawsuit. Their stories were heartbreaking and horrifyingly similar. Young girls, 14 to 16, working at Henderson's grocery or other Henderson family businesses. Isolated, manipulated, assaulted, threatened into silence. Marcus Henderson had spent 30 years destroying young women, and no one had stopped him. But that was about to change. Rebecca filed the civil lawsuit on a Monday morning in November. We had chosen our timing carefully, filing in Illinois rather than Iowa, taking advantage of recent changes to statute of limitations laws for childhood sexual abuse. The suit named Marcus Henderson directly, along with Henderson Enterprises for creating an environment that enabled his assaults and actively covering them up. The local Chicago press picked up the story by that afternoon. By evening, it was national news. Prominent Chicago developer accused of decades-long pattern of sexual abuse. My phone exploded with calls. Reporters, colleagues, acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years. I ignored them all, except one, Rachel. Margaret, what the hell is going on? Her voice was sharp, confused. The news is saying you're suing some developer for assault. They're saying it happened when you were a kid. Why didn't you ever tell me? Would you have believed me? I asked quietly. Silence. That's what I thought. I continued. You've spent our entire lives convinced I had everything, that life was easy for me, that my success came without cost. Well, here's the cost, Rachel. Here's what you never saw. Margaret, I was raped repeatedly when I was 13 years old. I got pregnant from it. I miscarried alone in a school bathroom. I've had PTSD for 34 years. The scars on my arms? That's where it started. The scars you used to try to destroy my career? Those are survival marks. Evidence that I clawed my way through hell and somehow made it to the other side. I could hear her crying. I didn't know. Margaret, I swear I didn't know. No, I agreed. You didn't know because you never asked. You were too busy resenting me to actually see me. The complaint to the medical board, she whispered. Oh God, Margaret, I'm so sorry. I didn't understand. You thought I was broken. You thought I was unstable. You thought my scars were evidence that I was falling apart, not evidence that I had survived something you couldn't imagine. What can I do? She asked, her voice small. How can I make this right? You can withdraw your complaint. You can issue a public statement supporting me, and you can stay out of my way while I destroy the man who destroyed me. Okay, she said immediately. Yes, anything. Margaret, I'm so sorry. I hung up without saying goodbye. Her apology felt 30 years too late, but I appreciated the gesture nonetheless. The medical board investigation was quietly dropped 3 days later. The hospital called me, apologetic, asking when I wanted to return to work. My department head practically begged me to come back, suddenly understanding that my instability was actually evidence of remarkable resilience. But I wasn't ready to go back. Not yet, because we had more work to do. Rebecca had coordinated a joint press conference with all 8 survivors. We stood together on the courthouse steps, a line of women ranging from age 40 to 50, and told our stories. I spoke first, using my medical credentials and professional standing to lend credibility to our accounts. "My name is Dr. Margaret Sullivan Pierce," I began, my voice steady despite the cameras and microphones thrust in my face. "I am the chief of pediatrics at Chicago Memorial Hospital. I am also a survivor of childhood sexual assault. I detailed my assault, using clinical language for the graphic parts, emotional language for the impact. I explained how it had shaped my life, my career, my choice to become a pediatrician, to protect children in ways I hadn't been protected. Then Sarah spoke, and the other women, each story adding to the damning portrait of Marcus Henderson as a serial predator who had operated with impunity for decades. The reaction was swift and brutal. Henderson's wife filed for divorce the next day. His business partners publicly severed ties. His biggest clients dropped their contracts. The Chicago social scene that had embraced him closed ranks against him. But the most important reaction came from someone unexpected. Marcus Henderson's oldest daughter. She reached out to me through Rebecca, asking to meet privately. Her name was Claire. She was 15, and she had something to tell me. We met at a coffee shop in Evanston, neutral territory. Claire was beautiful, with her father's dark hair and a haunted look that I recognized too well. "He touches me," she said without preamble, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea she wasn't drinking. Not rape, but inappropriate. When Mom isn't looking. Comments about my body, walking in on me changing, making me sit on his lap, telling me I'm special. I felt ice form in my stomach. How long? Since I was 12. It's gotten worse in the last year. I thought I was crazy. I thought maybe I was imagining it, making it weird when it wasn't. But then I saw the news, and I realized, "You're not crazy," I said firmly. "He's grooming you." It would have escalated. "Claire, you're incredibly brave for telling me." "I want to testify," she said, her jaw set. "I want him in jail. I want my sisters protected. Can you help me?" I reached across the table and took her hand. "Yes, I can help you." We added Claire's testimony to our case. A minor daughter reporting ongoing abuse gave prosecutors grounds for criminal charges, not just civil liability. Marcus Henderson was arrested on a Tuesday morning. Perp walk, handcuffs, cameras catching every moment of his humiliation. Justice 34 years late, but finally coming. The trial lasted 6 weeks and made national headlines. Me Too had paved the way for women to be believed, and Marcus Henderson's defense team couldn't overcome the sheer volume of evidence against him. My mother's recordings, in particular, were devastating. His own voice, drunk and boastful, describing his assaults like they were conquests to be proud of. I testified on a cold January morning, Rachel sitting in the courtroom gallery for support. Daniel held my hand while I waited to be called, and my children flanked me on either side, Emily and Jake both having flown home to Chicago to be present for this moment. The defense attorney tried to break me on the stand, tried to suggest I was after money, after fame, after revenge, tried to paint my scars as evidence of mental illness rather than trauma, tried to imply that at 13, I should have known better, done more, fought harder. But I had spent 34 years preparing for this moment, even if I hadn't known it. I had earned a medical degree, raised children, saved lives, survived. I was not the broken 13-year-old girl Marcus Henderson had assaulted. I was Dr. Margaret Pierce, and I was stronger than he could have imagined. Did I want revenge? I responded to the defense attorney's question, my voice calm and clinical. No, I wanted justice. I wanted protection for his daughters and all the future girls he would have assaulted. I wanted him to face consequences for his actions. That's not revenge. That's accountability. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. They found him guilty on 12 counts of sexual assault, 3 counts of child abuse, and multiple counts of obstruction of justice. The civil case settled immediately after the criminal verdict. Henderson Enterprises liquidated to pay damages to the survivors. Marcus Henderson was sentenced to 45 years in prison. At age 52, it was effectively a life sentence. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. The real confrontation, the one that mattered most, happened after the trial ended. Rachel asked to meet me at our mother's house in Cedar Rapids, the house I still hadn't sold despite Mom's instructions about putting it in trust for Rachel. I had been waiting, I realized, for this moment. It was early February, the Iowa winter bitter and gray, when I pulled up to the house on Maple Street. The porch still sagged, the paint still peeled, but someone had shoveled the walkway. Rachel's car was already in the driveway. She met me at the door, her eyes red from crying, her hand unconsciously resting on her stomach. She was showing now, the pregnancy Mom had predicted evident beneath her winter coat. "Come in," she said softly. I made coffee. We sat at the kitchen table where our father had once counted bills, where our mother had cried about money, where I had placed my piggy bank as a 7-year-old child trying to earn her place in the family. "I didn't know," Rachel said finally, her hands wrapped around her coffee mug, "about any of it. The assault, the pregnancy, what you survived. I swear, Margaret, if I had known..." "You would have what?" I interrupted gently. "Believed me? Supported me? Or would you have found a way to make it about how hard it was for you?" She flinched, but didn't argue. "I've been jealous of you my entire life," she admitted. "From the moment you got that scholarship to private school, I felt like you were special and I was ordinary, like you deserved more than me, and I hated you for it." "I know," I said. "You were always so strong, so competent, so successful. Perfect grades, perfect career, perfect family. I felt like a failure in comparison. Like no matter what I did, I would always be the lesser sister." "Rachel," I said, leaning forward, "I was raped at 13. I miscarried in a school bathroom. I've cut myself for 34 years. I have PTSD so severe that I can't let my husband touch me without warning. I wake up screaming from nightmares. I take medication just to function. My perfect life has been a carefully constructed facade hiding unimaginable pain." "Is that what you wanted?" She was crying now, hard, her shoulders shaking. "No. God, no. I'm so sorry, Margaret. I'm so sorry for everything. The intervention, the medical board complaint, the resentment, all of it. I was so wrong." I reached across the table and took her hand. Not forgiveness exactly, but acknowledgement. "Why did you really call me here?" She took a shaky breath. "Because I'm pregnant, and I'm terrified, and I don't know how to be a mother, and because you're the strongest person I know, and I need to understand how you survived everything, and still became this incredible woman. I need to know if I can do it too." "You're stronger than you think," I told her. "You just spent so much energy resenting me that you never looked at your own strength." "Can you teach me?" she asked, her voice small. "How to be strong, how to survive." I thought about my mother's instructions, about the $400,000 house that was supposed to go into anonymous trust for Rachel and her baby. I thought about 30 years of protecting my sister from truths she wasn't ready to hear. I thought about all the ways I had enabled her resentment by not defending myself. "I'll make you a deal," I said. "I'll sell this house and split the money with you. Your half goes into a trust for your baby's education and future. You use it to get therapy, to work on yourself, to become the mother your child deserves. And in return, you stop comparing yourself to me. You stop measuring your worth against mine. You find your own path." "The house is worth at least $400,000, Rachel protested. "You don't have to..." "Yes, I do," I interrupted. "Not for you, for me. Because I'm done carrying everyone's pain. I'm done sacrificing myself to make other people comfortable. This is me choosing to help you, on my terms, because I want to, not because I have to." Rachel nodded slowly, understanding something had fundamentally shifted between us. I wasn't her victim anymore. I wasn't her opponent. I was simply her sister, setting boundaries, choosing kindness without sacrificing myself. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're welcome," I replied. The money from the civil settlement against Henderson Enterprises was substantial, $2.3 million split among 8 survivors. I donated half of my share to organizations supporting survivors of childhood sexual assault. The rest I put into a foundation I established, the Patricia Sullivan Fund for Adolescent Trauma Survivors, named after my mother, who had tried in her own flawed way to make amends. The foundation provides free therapy, legal support, and medical care to young survivors of sexual assault. Sarah agreed to serve on the board of directors. So did Claire Henderson, Marcus's daughter, who at 17 showed remarkable courage in turning her father's legacy of pain into a force for healing. I returned to work at Chicago Memorial in March, 6 months after Rachel's complaint had nearly destroyed my career. The hospital threw me a welcome back party that was awkward and touching in equal measure. Everyone unsure how to address what had happened, what had been revealed, what I had survived. My scars were no longer a secret. I stopped wearing long sleeves. When patients or their parents asked about the marks on my arms, I told them the truth in age-appropriate ways. These are from when I was young and hurting and didn't know how to ask for help. They remind me that healing is possible. Some people were uncomfortable. Some were inspired. I didn't care either way. The scars were mine. My story. My survival. I was done hiding them. Daniel and I started marriage counseling. Real counseling, the kind where we talked about my PTSD, his avoidance, the ways we had both enabled dysfunction, the kind where I finally let him see me, truly see me, without the armor of perfection I had worn for 25 years. "I love you," he told me after one particularly brutal session, where I had detailed every way Marcus Henderson's assault still affected our intimate life. "I love you, and I'm sorry it took me so long to really know you." "I love you too," I replied, "and I'm sorry it took me so long to let you in." We weren't perfect. We never would be. But we were honest, finally, and that was enough. Emily and Jake processed their mother's revelation in different ways. Emily, my fierce social worker in training, threw herself into advocacy work, joining my foundation's youth advisory board. Jake struggled more, angry that I had suffered and he hadn't known, couldn't fix it, couldn't protect me retroactively. "Mom," he said one night over dinner at the Brownstone, "how did you survive? How did you go through all that and still become a doctor? Still raise us? Still function?" I thought about that question carefully before answering. I survived because I didn't know I had any other choice. I survived because I was stubborn. And I survived because I found meaning in helping other people, in making sure other children didn't suffer the way I did. "But the cutting," Emily said softly. "Do you still—" "Yes," I admitted. "Sometimes, when the pain gets too loud and I need to quiet it. But I'm working on it. I have a therapist, I have medications, I have coping strategies, and most importantly, I have you two, and Dad, and a life worth fighting for." Rachel had her baby in May, a beautiful girl she named Patricia, after our mother. I was in the delivery room, holding Rachel's hand while she screamed through contractions, coaching her through the breathing exercises I remembered from my own deliveries. When baby Patricia was placed on Rachel's chest, my sister looked at me with tears streaming down her face and said, "Thank you, not just for being there, for everything, for surviving, for setting boundaries, for giving her the gift of our mother's house money without making her feel like a charity case, for being the sister she needed even when she didn't deserve it." "You're welcome," I said, meaning it. I stopped cutting myself in September, not because I woke up one day magically healed, but because I made a choice, every single day, to find other ways to manage the pain. Art therapy helped. Running helped. Writing helped. Sitting with the discomfort instead of trying to quiet it helped. The scars are still there. They always will be. 43 on my thighs, 17 on my left arm, countless smaller ones scattered across my body like a constellation of pain. But they're fading, slowly, becoming part of my history rather than my present. I saw Marcus Henderson one more time, at his sentencing hearing. He looked old, broken, nothing like the powerful predator who had haunted my nightmares for 34 years. When the judge asked if I wanted to make a victim impact statement, I stood and faced him directly. "You took 13 years of my life," I said, my voice steady. "From 13 to now, I have carried you with me. In every nightmare, every panic attack, every scar, you made me believe I was worthless, that I was broken, that I deserved what happened to me. But you were wrong. I am not worthless. I am not broken. I am a survivor, a doctor, a mother, a sister, a woman who has turned pain into purpose. And you? You're nothing but a pathetic old man who hurt children because you couldn't handle your own inadequacy. I hope you spend every day of your sentence thinking about the lives you destroyed and the justice you finally faced." He didn't look at me, couldn't face me. Good. Now it's November again. A year since my mother's funeral. A year since Rachel yelled at me about always having everything. I'm standing in the garden behind my brownstone, watching the last leaves fall from the oak tree, Chester asleep at my feet. Daniel comes outside with 2 cups of coffee, hands me one, kisses my forehead. My sleeves are short despite the chill, my scars visible in the autumn sunlight. "You okay?" he asks. I smile, and for the first time in 34 years, it reaches my eyes. Yeah, I say. I really am. The scars are still there. The pain is still there. But so is the joy, the love, the hard-won peace. Rachel was right about one thing. I do have everything. Not because life gave it to me, but because I fought for it, survived for it, earned every single piece of it. And that makes it mine in a way nothing has ever been mine before.